Yo, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how I make emotional piano melodies, then I'm going to throw some drums on it. I don't really know who this melody would be for, but it does sound pretty cool. Alright, so before we start off, I received a new monitor, and it's very long, as you can see right here. It's a big boy, but it's 1440p and it's a different aspect ratio, so I don't know how editing and putting this on YouTube will actually look, so you guys gotta let me know if it looks good or not, and I'm sure if it doesn't, I can find a way in the future to fix it so it does look rather snazzy. But yeah, the first sound I used was the LA Custom C7 classical piano. It's one of my go-tos from Keyscape. It is very good. And then I went ahead and played this MIDI out on the piano. This melody is very similar to the silent cookup video I did. I just did everything a lot better. So basically the same process that I did in that, just playing it on the MIDI, figuring things out in my head, starting with the root note, which is B for this one, and then just going up note by note and finding things that just really go together. And then I quantized it, restrummed it, and then didn't mess with the velocities at all because I played it out, so that's about as realistic as it can get. So yeah, overall very simple and sounds pretty cool. So here's what it sounds like. Yeah, so this is a very full sounding melody and it sounds really nice. And the reason it's so full is usually I only put my bass notes down 1 octave, but I think I learned from a Chambers video that if you put them down 2, it still does sound really good. That's what I did with this. And then for the effects on that, I just have reverb, a low cut, and then an imager to make it feel really wide and full. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the first melody, super simple. And then for the second one, I used the LA Custom C7 Dark Score, which is just overall a lot deeper and has a lot more reverb, and the timbre is a lot more, I'm pretty sure. And here's the MIDI for it. It just copies those same chords but without the bass note, and that's pretty much it. And I ended up reversing this, so I put it over to the mixer before I rendered it out through Tape Cassette 2 with wow and flutter on it, and then this EQ to just kind of keep it in this region where the other piano really kind of wasn't, so it really makes it a little bit more full. And then here's what this sounds like before I reversed it. So overall, it's very dark sounding and again, very full. Then, like I mentioned before, rendered it out, reversed it, flipped the order of which it was reversed in so it keeps the same chord progression. And now this is what it sounds like. And as you can hear, it does sound a little bit different because I did add more effects to it. So I just added reverb and then an EQ to cut the lows because it did get a little bit too low after I rendered it out. Then for the next sound that really carries the whole melody is the Crystal Wash from Keyscape again. It's a like synthy, rhodes, sparkly kind of thing. It's really cool. And of course, again, copies that same thing pretty much. But what I did is offset the first chord by these 2 little cells here. And that just gives it a little bit of a different feeling. And then I went ahead and did this overdub feature and then just played a pattern on the MIDI, and I didn't bother to quantize it or mess with the velocities or anything. As you can see, like some of the things are overlapping, but that doesn't really matter because I did a ton of effects to this, so it does change it a lot anyways. So yeah, without effects, here's what this sounds like. So as you can hear, very not quantized, but it still does sound pretty cool. And then I went ahead and routed that to the mixer, put Magic Switch on it, which is a free chorus plugin, cut the lows, and then added a imager to make it feel really wide. Then I rendered that out here and reversed it as well, which I'm not going to play yet because I'll go over the other effects that I did on it. But then for the other effects, I put shaper box, which I'll put on screen now because I can't show it because I only have the demo. But here are the two things I did. And then I went ahead and put finisher micro on the infinity preset just to make it sparkle a little bit more. And then a love filter. And then with these last two, the finisher micro and the love filter, I went ahead and automated them both and then played around with the automation clips so it looks like this. So the sparkliness kind of like pulsates in and out. And then I just played around with the filter till I got something that sounded really cool. And I really like the way this turned out in the end. So here's what it sounds like. So that just really carries the whole melody. And you can still kind of hear some like unquantized bits, but it does just add a little bit of character and makes it feel a little bit cooler. So yeah, overall another really simple melody, but it does just kind of focus on the effects a lot and makes it sound really cool through effects and not through like a cool pattern or anything. Alright, and then for the next sound, which are the vocals, I use this arcade preset called My Love, My Love, and it sounds pretty cool. I was trying to find like a more like singy, like choir bank, but this is about as good as I could get. And then the pattern for that is also super duper simple. Just does these little chops and plays out this E note for like the first little bit of it. And then again, something you have to pay attention with arcade is that the black notes add effects. So it's really nice to be able to play around with those, and it does sound really cool when you can fit them into your melody and make it sound just a little bit more unique so it doesn't sound like straight up an arcade vocal. But yeah, here's what this sounds like. So yeah, pretty repetitive, but still sounds pretty cool. Then I went ahead and routed that to the mixer, added this EQ to kind of cut a little bit of the highs, a little bit of reverb, and then vocodex, which I think is a vocoder. I have no clue what this does. I accidentally clicked on it and it sounded pretty cool, so I kept it. And then two EQs, another one to cut the highs after that vocoder or whatever it is, and then one to cut the lows. So then I went ahead and rendered that out. One of the times I pitched it down an octave, so this is this section, and it just sounds a little bit cooler. So just a little bit different. And then the other time I just left it how it was. And then I also put extra effects on both of these. But then as you can see, I did another love filter automation. It just copies the one that's in the dreamy, like synthy pad sort of thing, but just a little less drastic so it doesn't go all the way filtered out. As you can see here on this one, it's all the way down, and this one it's halfway. But again, that just adds a lot of movement to it and makes it sound really cool. But then the effects I put on both the vocals, the high one, I just put ambience and then a love filter on it, which was automated. And then pancake on the shy preset on one bar. And then for the low vocals, I did that same shy preset, but inverted it. So as it plays, the vocals like switch from ear to ear. Overall, it just sounds really cool. That's something I really like to do if I'm using like doubles of something, is like pan them in opposite directions. So then both of the vocals with the automation together sound like this. This is probably like the best emotional vocal chops I've done, and sounds really cool. So yeah, at this point I feel like the melody's pretty much done, but there was just like a few little accent things and a bass that I wanted to add. So the first little accent thing I added was the wing upright dark indie. I've used this in my videos before, and overall it's just a great piano. It just sounds really cool. And then I did that same effect that I've talked about before, which is pitching everything up really high. So you can see here it's all in like 8 and 7, which is really high. Normally I wouldn't go that high because usually it just sounds bad. But I figured out this super simple pattern, and it just plays this A sharp over and over, goes down to the G sharp and back up. Very repetitive. And then I went ahead and added these little stutter notes and then some like half-ish chords just to make it sound a little bit more interesting and full. And then for the second half, I put it down to F sharp instead of A sharp just for a little variation. So yeah, this is a super simple pattern again, but here's what it sounds like. So yeah, and then I went ahead and rendered that out, of course, and then I just pitched it down an octave, which is an effect I've talked about a lot that I like to do specifically with the wing upright piano. It just makes it sound really cool. So here's what it sounds like when it's pitched down an octave. So yeah, this is pretty much the whole top line for the melody. I felt that like the dreamy pad really took up a lot of space in like high end and stuff like that. So I didn't want to overcomplicate a top line and just make the melody too busy. So yeah, and then the final sound I added, of course, the Musk sub bass. Just the best sub bass, sounds really good. And of course, just copies the bass notes. It's a bass, that's what it does, and just fills up that low end for the intro. So here's what it sounds like. Yeah, very simple. And that's pretty much it for all like the sounds in the melody. And then the final thing I did for the intro is make a sort of like mini drum loop. And I just kind of clicked around until I got something I liked, but ended up with this. I'm not going to really break down each sound because I'm going to do actual drums after this. This was just a little accent that I added to make the intro sound cool. So here's what it sounds like. And then I went ahead and rendered those out all together and added some effects to it. So I went ahead and just put a ton of reverb on it with the decay and the wet turned way up. And then an EQ to just kind of keep it high and stuff like that. And then a pancake on the bigger preset with the LFO at 2 bars. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for like all like the melodic components. And then for the arrangement, again, I always don't know how to explain this, just kind of took things in and out as I saw fit. But I added a texture, which is like a crackle texture from one of the exotic one-shot kits. Just sounds really nice. And then of course added ambience on the master and did this automation clip to make the drum drop a little bit more interesting and also make the intro and where it would loop into the next section a little bit more interesting as well. Then finally, I went ahead and rendered that out and pitched it up one, and yeah, that's the final melody. So I'll go ahead and play the first little bit and then get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So, yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody, and now we can get started on the drums. So yeah, that's it for the melody Alright, yeah, so that's pretty much going to be it for the video. I think the drums actually turned out pretty good. With the mixing, I'm just going to make everything not clash as much, because those two snares together really do like overcrowd it. So I'm going to mix them in a way that it's like more listenable. But overall, drums pretty cool. Melody, really liked the way that dreamy synth part came out. But yeah, have a great rest of your day. I hope editing this is smooth. I don't know how it'll go with different aspect ratio. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, I don't even know.